Hello everyone, welcome to this video. So in this one we're taking a look at the curved greatswords in Dark Souls 2. This weapon class has only 4 different weapons. However, it's probably one of the best balanced classes in the whole game. Each weapon in this class, in my opinion, serves a very good purpose, and some of the movesets that you'll find on them are incredible. So these weapons fall into a category sort of between curved swords and ultra greatswords. They have a few characteristics from Ultra Greatswords, such as the critical attack, the poise break, the damage, but then they have the sleek factor, such as the swing speed, from curved swords. Now, I want to start off by taking a look at 2 of the curved greatswords that have a identical moveset, that being the Murakumo and the Arch Sword. So let's quickly run through the stats of these 2, and I'll talk about them individually, because there are only a few things that are different between these 2, mainly being their damage at later levels. So you can get the Murakumo from OrnFX, and it takes 20 strength and 20 dex, with an A scaling in dexterity. It only gets an E scaling in strength. This weapon weighs 12 units and has 70 durability, 45 poise break, 110 counter damage, and at 50 strength and dex you'll be doing 544 damage with a ring of blades. So next up is the Arch Sword. This is a boss weapon, which means it upgrades with petrified dragon bones. You can buy it from Strayed after defeating the Flexile Sentry. It weighs 14 units and has 70 durability as well, 45 poise break and also 110 counter damage. And at 50 strength and dex with a ring of blades you'll be doing 563 damage. So the general differences between these 2 weapons is that one upgrades with normal Titanite while the other one upgrades with petrified dragon bones. The stats to wield are a little bit different. 20 strength and 20 dex for the Murakumo with an E and an A scaling, and 26 strength and 16 dex for the Arch Sword with a C and an A scaling. So at later levels you will do more damage with the Arch Sword because of the scaling. However, in early levels, the Murakumo is the one that's doing more damage. If you prefer the looks of one over the other, that could be a reason to pick one or the other. Although I do find myself playing with the Murakumo more often because it's a weapon I can do more damage with earlier on in the game, as well as I would like to save my dragon bones for other weapons. However, I do personally prefer the looks of the Arch Sword. Now, how to play with these weapons. Remember, they do have the same moveset, so what I say about one also goes for the other. The one-handed attack of these weapons are some of the best for crowd control in the whole game. And because they are basically Ultra Greatsword levels of poise break, enemies such as Cyan Knights and Alon Knights, like heavy armored enemies, can still be staggered by you just using one of your hands, and for example having a shield in the other, to protect yourself from multi-hits in an area such as the Iron Keep that can actually get really hectic. You really kind of have to try out these weapons with one hand to see how powerful it is. As you're pretty much spamming out this attack, your character is moving forward, which means the enemy doesn't get out of your range, because you're taking a step with each hit. I think the one-handed light attacks are some of the best on this weapon. Now, the strong attack is a little bit weaker. You can use it for catching lizards because it hits down twice, but keep in mind, because this is an ultra great weapon, even though you may be locked onto the enemy, you can still fully aim with the left stick, so sometimes you may miss completely as you're strafing and moving around and such. Now, another attack on this weapon that I would deem to be a little bit weak, depending on how big the enemy you're fighting, is the two-handed light attacks. However, when you two-hand this, you can do a very good combo that is especially effective against bosses. That is to do a rolling attack and then quickly follow it up with an R1 attack. The reason I like these 2 attacks in combination so much is because you can roll under the final combo of a boss's attack and then follow it up with a really quick, really strong attack from a powerful weapon. Not to mention that if you roll, you can delay this attack against certain enemies such as Alon Knights. Since they attack so fast, you can time your attack after you roll to hit them quickly. And you basically hit them twice with a guaranteed stagger that is very likely to kill them. Now, the two-handed strong attacks are a little bit weaker. They suffer kind of from the same thing as the one-handed strong attacks. However, they do have the knockback effect, knocking enemies down, or if the enemy is really big and can still be staggered, like Hate Knights, they will stun for a long time. This attack closes the distance between you and the enemy since your character walks a little bit forward. So again, another attack that can be really good against enemies that charge you, because they're very unlikely, unless it's a boss or a really big enemy such as ogres for example, they will basically stagger every time. Now, the parry with these weapons come out really fast compared to say Ultra Greatswords, which gives you another utility if you want to parry enemies while two-handing this thing. As well as when you actually backstab or do any sort of critical damage with this thing, it does basically Ultra Greatsword levels of damage. If you combo the parry by doing an attack first, it seems like the parry comes out a little bit quicker. And this can also be delayed if you want to time your parry as an enemy is coming in for an attack. So here we go, let's talk a little bit about a monster of a Greatsword. This weapon is a boss weapon, so it upgrades with Petrified Dragon Bones. The requirements to get it take a little bit long. Basically, in the boss room where the Dux de Freya is, there is a dragon memory that you need to access. In order to access this memory, you need to get the Ashen Mist Heart, which is at the end of the Dragon Eyrie. But this weapon does absolutely crazy damage. It takes 30 strength and 18 dex to wield, and it gets a B scaling in strength and an S scaling in dexterity. It weighs 18 units, has 60 durability, the normal 45 poise break and 110 counter damage. And at 50 strength and dex, I was doing 643 damage with this thing. Now, remember about the rolling attack into the R1? That come out extremely quickly. You can do this with this weapon, and that makes it an extremely strong weapon to use against bosses in that way. So the one-handed R1 of this weapon seemed to have the same speed as a normal Greatsword, which means something like the Claymore or the Bastard Sword. However, this thing does Ultra Greatsword levels of damage, but it swings as quickly as a normal Greatsword. This thing has a little bit of a shorter reach than the other Greatswords in its class. However, it has a special attack when you one-handed or when you two-handed and you press the strong attack that sends out a beam of air that does extra damage if you manage to hit with the air beam as well as the weapon. This consumes about 10 points of durability. Now, commonly for most players, this thing will do the most damage until you get to very, very high NG pluses. You'll see what I mean when I talk about the next weapon, which is the curved Nil Greatsword. So you can find this weapon in the 3rd DLC. It weighs 17 units, has 50 durability, the normal 45 poise break and 110 counter damage. And when it comes to its damage, it depends on how high of an NG plus you're actually in, to a maximum of 9. So this weapon won't be really good until you are around, say, NG plus 5 or so. This is why I mentioned that the Curved Dragon Greatsword is most likely going to be the weapon that does the most damage for you. So when you are at NG plus 9, you will do a maximum of 100 extra scaling with this weapon. That is without any Ring of Blades or your normal scaling. I'm currently at NG plus 7 and I'm doing at 50 strength and 50 dex, 613 damage. So the one-handed moveset is the same as the Murakumo and the Arc Sword. However, when you two-hand this thing, it becomes a little bit interesting. It probably has the best two-handed light attacks in its class. And when you two-hand it and you do the rolling attack, you still get the fast spin that can be comboed with the R1. The two-handed strong attack of this weapon is like a spin to win from a halberd, and you can follow it up with another strong attack, which will make you spin again. This combo does an incredible amount of damage, and this has a knockback effect on enemies. When you power stance this weapon with an Ultra Greatsword, a Curved Greatsword, or a normal Greatsword, you get a 6 spin attack as well. This is really fun to use because you do hit all around you. It kind of seems like the Curved Greatswords have a very good moveset for crowd control, and as you're in the animation of this attack, you can fully aim it as well to adjust as the enemies are coming in on you. Now, the stats to power stance this weapon are going to be really high because the stats to wield the weapon are 28 strength and 26 dexterity. However, this is a weapon you're most likely going to be using in high NG pluses anyways. This weapon gets an S and a B scaling in strength and dex, but in the opposite way of the Curved Dragon Greatsword. So like I mentioned in the beginning, every Curved Greatsword in this class serves kind of like a very good purpose. Say the Murakumo for how early you can get it and how easy you can make it good. The Arc Sword is kind of like an upgrade to the Murakumo at later levels. The Curved Dragon Greatsword being the high damaging weapon, and the Curved Nil Greatsword for the power stance potential, as well as when you get into the high NG pluses, as well as the great two-handed R1 attacks. So yeah, this class is fantastic. I'm very happy that all the weapons are so useful. If I had to pick one though, I'd say the Murakumo is my favorite. I probably wouldn't use the Curved Nil Greatsword or the Curved Dragon Greatsword until I had very high stats. And although I prefer the look of the Arc Sword, it's really steep to upgrade that with Petrified Dragon Bones because there are so many awesome boss weapons that I would like to play around with, and I probably save my Dragon Bones for that since this weapon technically has a duplicate to it. So yeah, the Murakumo's ease of access does it for me. That was it though. Thank you for watching and for all your support thus far. It's been awesome. Hopefully you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.